Good morning. Good morning. Happy holidays. Wait, now it's afternoon, right? Or
Depends
is
on
it?
where
It's
you are.
past 12.
Depends on where
Happy
you are.
holidays to you all, Sussex Squad Nation. Wow, Sussex Squad world. To all the Sussex Nation
Sussex
Yes.
nations all around the
all
world.
around the world. Happy holidays to you all. Especially the co-hosts. I'm sure that will join us right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Happy holidays to you
Connie
guys.
says it's freezing over there and
Oh,
very
Oh, I
windy.
can just imagine.
I am sure. I am sure that. Okay.
Well, in fairness, I mean, I'm sure it's nothing to to sneeze at in Switzerland, but it is like 9 degrees Fahrenheit outside here.
That's right. You
So-
went to school in Switzerland, didn't you?
Sweden.
Oh, you went to school in Sweden. Okay.
Church Nelly, 4 months. Hello. Hope you're feeling well, doing well. We're glad to see you there.
That's right.
That's
Oh
right.
my God.
Lydia Washington, Connie, Ann Hole. Hello. It's good to see you. Absolutely. Connie, as always. Kenether, absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much. Novi D, hello.
I cannot believe it's already this far into December. This is crazy. How are you doing, Lady Sussex?
How am I doing? I actually don't really know. It's just I feel like I wake up and it's Christmas. But what I will say is that it is a special time for me. Being able to celebrate each day that I have. God allowed me to have my mom with me, and because it wasn't it's going to be 2 Christmas now since that. In so many words, doctor looked at me and said, "Well, you know, there was no time left, much so to speak.
Yeah.
It was going to be it very soon." And I said no. I looked at the doctor, which was quite upset, and even family members were really upset at me. The fact that I said, "Well, I am sorry, doctor. I respect your opinion, but I don't think my mother's time, is there yet, and I will seek a second opinions." And here we are, probably, hopefully, God, she's seen a second Christmas with me, and
That's right.
so
And,
Yeah.
and to say, she is so much healthier
absolutely.
than when we first picked her up. So she's doing so much better. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But just
you
because
just never know because,
This is true.
sometimes, because again, I'm looking at my aunt that who is doing so well, incredible, and just, survive, COVID,
twice.
twice, and then just out of nowhere that she's no longer here. And I remember her making, sort of arrangement to come and see her sister the last time and try to get her in the family to come and see to say goodbye. And I'm like, I don't know why everyone planning to say goodbye, because not only I'm not ready, and I know, I just feel like there is something in me, a connection that I have with my mother. When the times come, I'm going to know. And I just feel like looking at her in the hospital, and there's nothing the doctors could have justified to me why she should not be here. And I'm like, no, it's not her time. And everybody looked at me crazy. And there she is.
Yep.
There she is.
So I am very grateful just to have her with me and spending time and taking each day. So I don't really think so much about myself, what's going on around me, so to speak, because I'm being focused on her.
Yep.
So,
That is very true. Well, to lighten things up a little bit.
yeah. But I know you guys been traveling.
Church Nelly.
yes.
Well, Church Nelly
And church.
actually said, because she also just appeared.
Yeah.
She said that her wig has frost on it, and so she's wearing a wig sickle. So I know that you would appreciate that. So, certainly throw. It is that time of year, Church Nelly. So please throw on a toboggan. Do what you need to do.
The funny what's funny about what she just said, for many folks, including me, who have wear wigs and the cold sometimes
Yep. Uh-oh.
If you have snow on it, it could be something special.
Mm.
So anyway, so okay. Oh my God, I needed that. So thank you, Church and Nelly.
She's always good for a laugh.
She's always brighten the mood.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. So how are you guys doing? I know you guys have been busy and traveling and running around, and So what's been going on with you?
Travel is a light way of putting it. It feels like we've been all over the world in less than a month, really, and like feels like we blinked and it went from being September to now the end of December. So it's a whirlwind. It's all amazing things, but it has been crazy in great ways.
Yeah, but in the Sussex world, every time that I think, okay, finally, things gonna die down, things going to be calm down, and it just like boom. By just putting a picture out. Just a Christmas card, something simple, not a big deal, nothing at all. And then all of a sudden that, we have days after days, people are talking about this Christmas card.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's
just a Christmas card, people. Yes, they are showing the kids and... Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care seeing this kid not until they're 19 or 20, because their safety and everything, it's important. At least I don't know why it is so important for me, but I really would love for these kids to be protected. And I think they are doing a great job doing that. But I know at the same time, sometime we would love to see how they are growing. And for me, just seeing the back pictures, it's enough.
It's perfectly fine.
I'm not really interested in seeing how they look. I know they're gorgeous.
Good genes.
They have incredible chins. I just didn't see the big deal. They start dissecting the pictures and to even compare it with everyone knows the pictures were released early this year, I think.
Yes.
And somehow Photoshop, blah, 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 blah. And now people know that, Harry and Meghan doesn't play that kind of game. They just don't. The only thing that they did, it's the pictures a little blurry. And there is program to do that if that's what it is, because you don't want to show...
You don't need to show your life in high resolution.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
It's not a requirement.
I don't think so much is them. I think it just was the kids.
Anyone at all.
That, they, it just see the family. I'm just, sometimes it's just fatigue of like, really, guys? But anyway.
Say so.
But that's what it is.
That's what it is.
But at least we know for the people that they've been saying that was not popular, commented the news on just releasing
it's
a Christmas
crazy.
card.
It's nuts. Really.
But they're not popular at all. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about them, but they are in every newspapers, there were so many articles about just one pictures, but they're not popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, that actually leads straight into the Church Nelly.
Absolutely.
So should we do that?
Yes.
Oh, and
I
hello,
want to
Black
start
Queen.
this podcast
It's
a
great
little
to see you
differently
back.
to normal, Kamal,
So,
because
And Joyce Anderson's there.
the case of
so-
I
Giselle
wonder, did
Pelican
Black Queen
KTV.
went to,
for women,
how was the party?
for me,
That's right.
Her mother
there's
party.
a reason why
How was the party, Black
thought that
Queen?
was
we've all
September.
taken it
Is
so
that already-
No,
personally.
I
I
think it's-
don't
I think
think
it's-
I have
No,
been
no, because she was in
this
her way
deeply
to
affected
to
by a
Jamaica.
story
Yes, actually, he
or
says
by
that now.
a
Because my
legal
Look for Jamaica
trial.
was a platinum blog, and she made
Probably
me come back
ever.
to
Maybe the
Bulgers,
Bulgers, but this means something.
Sorry
for
about
women.
that, Black Queen.
And the verdict
Oh my
today, which we're
God!
going to discuss.
I'm sure she have, eat some good oxtail, some
Is it going
curry
to change
goat,
things for
and
women?
some.
Not just in
I'm
France,
sure
not
it
just in
was
the UK,
incredible.
but around the world.
I'm sure she had a fantastic time.
Of course, I mean you can't go to Jamaica not having a good time.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially out of this cold weather. Oh my goodness! But like we said, jumping into church
Today,
now,
That's
and
right.
we've already talked about
more
it quite a
than
bit, so
ever
we're not going to
is the day
overdo it. But the
to
Christmas
really
card is the big
put
news.
your foot
Right.
forward
Clearly, the news of
to
the
try
week.
to not only protect
So
these
everyone
two,
was going
but
nuts,
also
and it's
to
still going
amplify
nuts
the voices
globally.
that
It's
defend them.
basically almost on every
Because
major
this is about
news
to get
outlet
really
running
bad.
around.
Come
and
next
it's
year,
for both ways.
I'm not just talking about
it's
these
basically
two.
there's
I'm
a lot
just
of
talking
adoration
about
and a lot
in
of
media
frankly
in general.
craziness
It's
that's
about to be
basically
a
going on
very
there.
scary,
So the adoration basically
weird
was directed at
time
basically
for
seeing the kids for the first
the
time in
other
quite
voices
some time.
and
Oh
how
my
keeping
God,
those
that
voices
beautiful
suppressed
red.
and
Yeah, so I
amplifying
mean,
the
it's
other
just
side.
it's a
But
lovely
when I
picture.
saw
Just,
stuff
I
like
mean,
this, look
I
at the
can't.
subscriber
You have to be a
count,
special
and this is
kind of
on
person to
YouTube.
look at that
They're
and
almost
find
at
something negative about it.
400K.
Frankly,
But
This is
they
the Daily
do.
Mail
they do,
Royals
but I mean,
from the Daily
come on,
Mail.
it's just
I'm
a
not even
joyous
going
looking
to
picture.
show, because
Everyone
I've said it
knows
before,
what
I'm
that
not
is going to
talking
be,
about
and
that
just happy
sad
to be
little
there.
man.
Plus, they have all
But
3
even
dogs,
his
and I'm a
channels,
dog
the
guy.
numbers
So
is
just the fact that dogs are
crazy.
there just
And you
also
may
makes
say,
it just a
Dre,
good thing.
That's
we
right.
need to
But
ignore them.
what you
We
also
need
have
to ignore
is
them.
that
We
there's,
need
I
to
mean,
ignore them.
people have
Don't
come
give
out of the
them the
woodwork
light.
about this whole
Don't
thing.
give them light.
It is
And I
nuts.
say to that,
So
I
just
don't agree
looking
with
through
that.
it, trying,
You
and
haven't
I
been
don't
keeping
even
up
really want to give them that much
the way
space
this
just on this
recent
because it's so
election went, the
overblown.
way stuff
But they
is
say that they're fake
pivoting,
kids, like
it
the kids
seems
are
like, with
fake.
certain media,
Like the kids are
mainly
fake. Like what
in
are
the
you talking
mainstream
about?
media and
And that they're
independent media.
photoshopped and
The
blah blah blah,
voices
and like
from our
this
side
whole
is
big
seeming
thing, and they
like
had to go
they're
like
either
people actually went and got a Photoshop expert to prove the fact that these are real photos, and you're just like, it's just a Christmas card, people. Give me a break. So, but I also find that it's just so interesting just when you start looking at this and then just think about the aspect and the idea of projection. Because clearly, and you already kind of hinted at it earlier, Lady Sussex, is that when you consider it's actually a fairly interesting phenomenon, given the fact that it was actually proven that William and Kate actually had some photos earlier this year that actually had been touched up, let's just say. So I just found that quite interesting, and that apparently George, their child, actually was missing a finger in one of those shots because they forgot to put it back in. It's like, what?
Well, you know what?
It's just like, what?
The way I'm looking at it, the silver lining, if they are talking about how the pictures of the children's are fake, it in some ways it may be something good, and the reason why, because it will allow these kids to go under the radar, because if they know it exists, then there's nothing to go after. That's how I'm looking at it. You see, I mean, am I a little bit twisted about that? Because to be kind of like looking at these children and looking at these children and saying that they are fake and everything, and we know with all those crazies that's out there, maybe some ways by saying that, then we'll make people just not really know what those kids look like. I don't know. I don't know how to interpret it. I'm trying to find, because for me, their safety, it is important. And I know the reason why they are saying why these kids are fake or that is not real, the pictures are not real, because the way these children, they look, that was not the expectation, especially when there was concern what it's going to look like, how it's going to look like if the kids, they had come out, looking a
darker
bit
complexion.
different.
Yeah.
Because I remember very clearly what used to be running online, all the different way people was picturing what those kids was going to look like. It was always this light-skinned kid with sort of, afro red head. Not that even if those kids did look like that, there would not be any problem with that. What would be the problem? But it's almost like I feel like because a lot of these folks, all of a sudden looking at themselves, I guess, suppose, it's hard to criticizing those kids. It's hard to call them, what was putting in a paper, a monkey, so to speak, or whatever it is that, they have called many of us. So you can't call these kids that. And so therefore they have to not be real. That's how I'm seeing it. It just, it's hard. It's almost like they want to erase this kid. But there's danger in that. Because if you are as though that this woman cannot produce these kids when she's a biracial woman, do you understand what I'm saying? And she's marrying with a white man, it is more likely these kids are going to come out looking the way they do. So if they are telling people somehow she did not produce these kids, then that's really dangerous.
Yeah. I mean,
That's very, very dangerous because you expose these kids to people thinking that, you know what, well, if it's not theirs, then I need to take the kids. Because I've seen it happen. Because it happened to my sister. it happened to my sister, her first child that who come out with literally blonde hair, blue eyes, and my sister have blue eyes. My mother has I have a lot of blue eyes people in my family, and she constantly found herself had to explain this is her kid, as if like she just stole it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
It
yeah.
just,
Well, she was the nanny.
it just, or she's the nanny or something
Yep.
like that. It just like, oh, people, do you guys know there's something called genetic? Do you know, we all, especially black folks, you know, we have a range of how we look. It is like, I mean, you looked at, God, where your family from?
Australia?
Australia.
Yeah.
These
The Aborigines?
incredible Aborigines with red haired or blonde haired or blue eyes
Silver.
or silver and all these different. There's so many places. I just wish people sometime, especially that you know with the internet, where all it takes is just do a little research.
Yeah, these people aren't
Do a
interested.
little
In,
research,
these people aren't
people.
interested in research, though.
Come on.
And I will say, I'll voice out what Black Queen has said because I found it
Yes.
interesting. What her opinion is that they are trying to say that they are fake when she's referring back to their kids, so they can render Meg's black blood and her existence in the unroyal family as null and void.
That's right.
That
It's
and I
it's
think
true.
that's probably.
I mean,
pretty
you know,
close.
I mean, you sometimes those folks they leave you speechless. You have to interpret these things like exactly what you know Black Queen is saying because what
It's apparent. It's not the fact they're even trying to hide it is the thing.
my goodness. What's next?
Yeah. The other thing is, and I'll just keep this very short and sweet, but it is relevant in the fact that we cover royal folks and the fact that she was a dear friend of Diana, so it is something to say. But Fergie is also back in the news this week, and it's rather unfortunate, and I'm just going to simply leave it there.
It's unfortunate because I have a soft spot for Fergie. I don't know whether if it has to do because how she you know speak about Diana. The fact that she's probably one of those people that I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with that. That never turned against her. They were good friends, and there is something about Fergie that I like. I like the fact that you know she have there's an attitude, a style about her that I feel like in some ways relatable, and she is who she is. And we also have, in my opinion, of course, I think she did an incredible job with her girls, spot of. And I also think that, you know, she was one of those folks, it seems like, based on what Harry said, and even when Meghan was meeting the Queen for the first time, that was there to actually help her, sort of asking her, do you know how to curtsy and prepare her to meet the Queen. So I've always had like a very soft spot, and the reason why I'm not going to talk about her because I don't really know much. I don't get in too deep on what's going on with her. I know there's a lot of things that been saying about her. I don't really I don't get in too much, so it's hard for me to talk about what's going on. But what I will say is that, you know, I always feel there's something about her that I you know, she is who she is, and I was so appreciative to see her at the wedding. The fact that you know Harry had invited her, and she was there, because I feel like they had, in some ways, you know, push her aside, so to speak.
Very much so.
You know, so I don't really know much, but I know, you know, Royal Sussex did an phenomenon. This man deserving awards. You know, just he just know how to do this work. And I am so far from being able to actually do anything like this. So no, it's a little bit too much for me. And I will, anyone that want to know more about that story and what's going on, please go to Royal Sussex because he did a phenomenal job. He kept me
He
up.
always does.
I was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was still listening to him because, you know, being back and forth between my mom and listen, I couldn't stop. So yeah, he did an incredible job. So yes, what's next?
No, that's pretty much it for Church Nelly.
That's a very short one, huh?
It was. It was. They
That's right.
everyone just loved what's going on with the photo, and so I think everyone else has kind of quieted down a little bit for the holidays.
Well, there's a lot going on. It's just that I think this is a holiday, so we take a very different
Tack.
a different route. So okay, what about Connie?
Connie, well,
My girl Connie.
That's right. That's right. So the thing with Connie, what had happened was,
Sounds like a movie. The Thing with Connie.
it's true.
There's something about Connie.
Yeah, exactly. So, so the thing is that we'll have to do Connie later.
Why?
Because my computer signed me out, and I can't get back in.
And actually,
I changed my password, and it's I need some assistance to reboot this thing.
Okay. All right. Go
while
ahead.
Charles is getting back in, want to say thank you for 4 months, Black Queen. You and Church Nelly hitting the 4-month mark and that same week, that same service. So thank you for your support, for your membership, and to read out the message Black Queen said. Thank you for all you do, Lady Sussex, Charles, George, and Squatties. Be proud. We are on the right side.
Amen. Amen.
And the other thing from the Connie Balmer community update, being a community update, is we take that time to also say specifically thank you to all of you for your support. It is also even just reminding us to tell people to like, share, and subscribe, to hit the thumbs up button, that you all are amazing co-hosts in that garden. We are so grateful for that support and for even tuning in to listen, and especially for members. And I don't know if you had.
I think for me personally, it's really deep, and it's hard to express my feeling without being emotional about it, because again, it's this idea sometime. Oh dear Lord. The constant needed to feel belong, so to speak. And I have been working since I was the age of 12 years, so to speak, between working and going to school. And somehow I've never felt I am a part or belong into any community, so to speak. And so out of nowhere, I make a decision to stand up and put my voice out there, to defend someone. And then here I am right now. I feel like I'm a part of a community that is showing so much love and care. And I'm still baffled by it. And still, I don't know. And again, it's one of the person that I am so grateful for this holiday season. It's Royal Sussex.
Take your time. You're verklempt.
Because I don't think he understands or will even know what he has done and how I interpret it. Because we're all online. Nobody knows how crazy somebody may be, or sort of you when you vow for people, you defending people, you all of a sudden tie your brain into this person that you barely know, and to take a risk and to take a chance and to say, please go and support this person. And I don't have word for it, and I don't think I will ever do.
It's very sweet. But what I will say is that I was able to get my computer back.
And actually, on that note, we have a new theory on that regard. The viewer Sal saying that, are you sure, Charles, that it was you that changed the password, or was it the British Royal Navy?
I did log out right in the middle of everything. I will say that.
And as you get that back up, a huge thank you to Black Queen and also to Connie Balmer, both of you, for your super stickers, for your support, specifically even in this episode. It really is something.
I know.
It's just so humbling. It's amazing.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, thank you both.
It's
Absolutely.
incredible. So thank you to you all. And then really this holiday season, Royal Sussex, if you are listening, and I am so grateful for you. I am so thankful for you. you don't know me besides just hearing this really weird, awkward woman on the mic, and that you have very often sent people to go and listening to. But you are a part of my life in a way that you probably would never know. I would never know how to express it. And among of everyone that who are listening now, all the crew, you guys are so incredible. You give me hope. You give me so much that it's hard to put on into words. So I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you.
Yes. Lady Sussex is feeling very emotional
I am
today.
because when the way I internalize things, and I'm because I am a very caring and loving person by nature, and so to me is that when people, do that kind of gesture towards me, it's impact me, and it makes me feel that I can believe in, and I feel belong, so to speak. To be a part of a community that where we can come here and talk and support one another, and it's a lot for me, at least for me personally. It's bigger than just coming in, just defending Harry and Meghan, or speak about things that sometimes I don't even know about. It's just a place that where I feel like I belong.
And right before you get back into the Connie Bomber, just to say to Black Queen's message in particular with that super sticker, thank you again, was it said, "Hey guys, my daughter's training is going well. She got a short Christmas break from the 20th of December to 5th of January. And when she returns, she will graduate on January 30th. And thank you for your continued prayers."
Congratulations to you, Black Queen. That says a lot about you as a mother and the incredible job that you have done, and I'm assuming the whole family, because like they say, it takes a village. So, wow, bravo.
Indeed.
Okay, so now that
I'm back, now I'm live and in charge here. So, So first of all, prayers obviously for the entire community. It's especially during the holiday season, it can certainly be difficult, depending on your circumstances. So certainly prayers for our mental health, for strength to kind of overcome any of the adversities that we know are on the way. Mm-hmm. So please, everyone, take care of yourselves. Certainly, the fact that it's December, it is by far away the largest month for people actually give and donate to charities.
That's right.
And their particular philanthropies. So we thought we would just kind of review again some of the list of organizations that Harry and Meghan actually support themselves, and then just give you perhaps a little bit of ideas. So for that, why are you looking at me weird?
No, I'm not looking at you.
You give me this weird stink eye.
I am trying to get into a place to actually do the shows, because for whatever the reason, I don't know why the emotions are coming so much like that. Maybe it's the lack of sleep or something. But
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the first one basically is the Halo Trust. As you may all know, it's basically the landmine clearing and conflict recovery effort, which is just, amazing when you start thinking about how I was watching a video the other day, and so this guy doing the same thing. Actually, in this particular case, it was in the Ukraine. He only had a screwdriver and was going around pulling up mines with a screwdriver every foot.
Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine? Just walking into this every foot, pulling up another mine and de-arming it. It was just nuts. Anyway, so such brave people. But you have the Georgetown University's Gender Justice Initiative, which obviously is advocating for gender equality and equity.
Yes.
You have the Welcome Project, which is supporting refugees and immigrants. You have SmartWorks, which is empowering women with professional attire and coaching jobs.
Yes.
And coaching for job interviews.
Yes.
You have Well Child, which is supporting children with serious illnesses and their families. And Harry's been doing this forever.
It's one of those charities that's so so dear to my heart, as well as St. Jude's and also the Children Hospital in Los Angeles, because this idea that you have a kid that who's sick, and parents able to take time off and be there for their children, and there is something about it. It's so deep and so profound, and so that type of charities I love to support.
Black Queen is crazy.
What?
Black Queen and Church Nelly specifically.
What they say?
So they're both going back and forth, and Church Nelly's talking about her mother-in-law And then Black Queen says, Church Nelly, is she that bad? I don't think so. She birthed your beloved husband. Huh?
Well, it's because
And then Church Nelly said, I tried to enlist my mother-in-law in the military. America's enemies would kill themselves just to get away from her.
This is why I love this
Yeah.
community.
So
I mean,
it's just-
hello.
It's just too much.
I just love the conversation.
I'm telling you.
Sometimes I sort of go back and just read it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so funny.
It is so much.
This is where the party is.
It is. It is. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
jumping back onto the list is Sintabale.
Yes.
So obviously co-founded by Prince Harry, and it's supporting the young people affected by HIV and AIDS in Southern Africa.
Yes.
Lesotho, I believe, specifically. You have the Invictus Games Foundation, which obviously is it's founded by Prince Harry. It's probably the largest thing that he does, certainly the most well-publicized, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a global organization. It's fantastic, supporting wounded and injured veterans and sick armed persons personnel. And it's global too. I mean, it's getting much bigger. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Brazil is actually one of the more recent entrants into it. So it even goes past the Commonwealth. So Loveland Foundation, which is supporting communities of color with mental health resources, hugely important, especially these days. Center for Humane Technology is collaborating with a safe digital space and misinformation, which is one of their big initiatives that they've been going on for quite some time. The World Central Kitchen, everyone knows, probably one of the favorites, which is basically assisting with disaster response and community recovery with kitchens globally in conflict regions.
Yeah.
You have the Crisis Text Line, which is supporting mental health. Save the Children, which is children's rights and welfare. Planned Parenthood, which is women's reproductive rights. Girls Inc., which is fostering equity for girls and young women. And The Mission Continues, which is supporting veterans transitioning to civilian life.
You know, when you looked at the body of work and things that they have done, and it's almost feel like, we should put 20 or 30 years on that when it's really been, 2 years? I don't know. 3 years?
For what?
For the amount of things they have accomplished and have done and support and that we know about, the world knows about. And then yet you have people talking about that, they are so unsuccessful, and put a pin on that, because later on we're going to touch on one of those type of, ridiculous things. And it's just come on, people. Can you guys see the incredible things those two are doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's where's your humanity? Where's
your
your
honesty.
heart? Where's
Just your
your honesty?
honesty.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't even understand. Honestly, I don't even really understand it when it's so easily provably
Perfect.
false.
But what I will say is I do think those charities are probably now going to need our support more than ever, especially this holiday season, because we have no idea what's in the corner for many of us, so to speak. And those people need us.
Yeah, I'm also
They really need us. So anything that we can do, if we able to, please do donate $5, $4, $2, $1. Anything is better than nothing, because they depend on it, and they need it, and they need that support. And also remember that those are tax deductible. So if you can, only if you can,
Yep.
yes, please.
And actually, I'm going to break a little bit from planned sharing of these thoughts, because there is an association here I want to drive, because we keep manifesting this truth that at some point in the future we're going to interview Harry
Yes.
with the Planet First Action Initiative, is as the list of amazing charities and nonprofits and organizations that Harry and Meghan support, that Charles has just run through. Going to say that there's one more that we're going to add to the list. Not that they're supporting, but that we are actually going to be highlighting tomorrow with the Planet First Action Initiative.
That's right. You
With
guys have a special for a Christmas special.
Exactly.
we do.
A holiday special
And,
that's going to be coming out tomorrow night. And it is an absolutely amazing, inspiring, incredible organization from a story that actually a lot of you are going to already know. I'm not going to say what it is right now, but you'll
It's
know
a
that
famous.
it's a famous
famous
story. It's been
story.
made into a book
Movie.
has been written about it. There's actually multiple movies, including a Netflix full length feature
Yes.
documentary on this story.
Which we watched.
we rewatched it again, yeah, because it is
Mhm.
just that it is that incredible.
One
and
step closer to Harry.
one step closer to Harry, and it is the one hint we'll give is that it is a story that is coming out of. I'm not going to give a country. I'm going to say just the continent. It's coming out of Africa.
Correct.
And so it is one of those charities and nonprofits that is absolutely deserving of support because of the incredible work that they do. And like we said, we're not going to tell you now because we want to encourage you all to join us. Tomorrow is the
That's
plan.
right.
Tomorrow
Come
in the
and
evening.
party like you guys have done the last time.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And if you was not a part of it, you are missing. So we're looking forward to see Connie Bomber. You know, we're looking to see Black
Novi D.
Queen.
Novi D, yeah.
Novi D,
Yeah.
and all the gang because yes, let's have a celebration because I think you guys did a phenomenal job with this interview and then after that everybody can go and watch the movie.
Exactly. So we put it's all on the screen in terms of the handle, the at Plan for section. It's also in the chat. So we'll hope to see you all there.
I hope you guys able be to have it coming out tomorrow night. That it's not Christmas
if
Eve
there
because
is
I
a-
know you
yeah.
guys have a lot.
There is true. There's a lot. But
There's
if
still things you guys are doing.
exactly. Well, to that end, if the schedule changes, we will have
We'll let you guys know.
You will share with them through the community.
That's right,
page
to the
when to
community
expect
page. But it should be tomorrow night, which will be so much fun.
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's bring our favorite drinks, I mean, coffee, tea, whatever that you're drinking. I don't know what Black Queen.
What are you calling a Black Queen?
Not Black Queen. No, Church and Alley. No, because I think no. No, I don't know what Black Queen drinks, but
Oh,
but
God.
I don't know why you guys are making fun. What did I say wrong?
You just called Black Queen out.
About drinking?
Yeah, for what reason? You said, I don't know what she drinks.
No, I was. You know, the thing is, I wanted to talk about Church and Alley because there is this thing going around with her with moonshine.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is moonshine. Moonshine, is that the liquor?
It's homemade liquor.
Homemade liquor. Yes. So there is this thing going on between her and Well Sussex.
Is she?
So-
Is that the holiday gift we're getting in the mail? Is a Church Nelly
Bottle of
moonshine?
hooch.
Moonshine special.
Yeah, and that come from in your area, right?
Yes, it's a
from
lot
the
of people
South.
do it. A lot of people do it. Not necessarily just from the South, but the South was a very prominent maker of hooch.
That's right. You're
back in
from
the day.
everywhere,
Even,
aren't you?
even yeah, I would say back in the day. Back in the day, it was more famous, but it still happens a lot. I mean, like everywhere.
Yes. So Church and Alley, basically, I think that's a preferred drink.
And
from
we'll
my
find out what Black
understanding.
Queen drinks at some point.
We don't know. I will think some really good sorrel because
yeah.
oh my
Sorrel?
God, I love sorrel.
I'm just thinking. I think a nice
I
red
love it.
wine. When I think of Black Queen, I just think of a nice red wine.
Nice red wine.
I do.
No, yeah, and a Connie Bomber. I think, oh my God, she's
We like
French.
projecting on people.
No, we're just taking what those people drink.
Making ourselves sound like alcoholics.
Yes.
No, we're not. But anyway, go ahead. So yes, we're looking forward to see everyone. Hopefully tomorrow night.
Hopefully tomorrow night. Exactly.
yes.
Connie Bomber already says she's going to be there, so thank you so much.
Yeah, Connie.
Yes, go
Looking
ahead.
forward to it.
And
That's it from the break.
No,
of the
we're
regular
good. We're good.
scheduled,
So yeah, the next thing is we're just kicking off the regular service, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the one last thing, because we kind of half did it, and so we'll finish it off because it is important. It
Yes.
is especially this time of year, that gratitude of really saying thank you to everyone for their support, including not only all of our subscribers, but in particular our members. And to shout them out for that support is Patrick O. Marcel, Marvel Walker, R.R. Carter, V. Brame, Antonio TC416, April Showers Church, Nellie Black Queen, who both celebrated 4 months today. Thank you. Kate Castillo, Eve and Connie Balmer both. Sylvia Fielder, V. Thomas, Lady Rose Sussex, Bryce Thompson, the one and only Royal Sussex, Lydia Washington, Connie and Julie, Angela White, Diane Hawkins, Chef Sandy Love, who we saw you in the chat, so good to see you, and Don Robinson Gales. And we did have actually some member only specials.
That's right.
This past
That's right. We did last week.
And just to read off one of the comments, because it was very sweet and warmed our hearts to hear it, is actually from that member special from Antonio, TC416, who said, Lady Sussex, George, and Charles, thank you. Thank you for the beautiful and heartfelt video. Your warmth and sincerity are part of what makes your channel special. Your discussions on theology, scriptures, and present-day occurrences are not only enlightening, but also the results of deep conversation. Also, the results of deep conversations with my parents and reflections. I love it. Thank you for the hard work and care you put into every discussion. Your work is a blessing, and I'm grateful to be part of this wonderful community you've created, or that parents created. Wishing you continued inspiration and success. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Antonio.
Oh my God! Wow! Don't make me cry again. Oh, that's so sweet. That is really so sweet. But it's on Tina and Michelle, wherever you are, to, special K thoughts, to Royal Sussex, to Ivy, to Facts and Two Cents, and all those incredible, amazing content creators that, that who does this work and do it so well, shoulder that I stand. And so thank you for that acknowledgement. Thank you so much.
And with that, I don't think there's anything else before we truly kick off the service, except for that reminder that we, even though this is a church service, we're not here to change anyone's beliefs. We're not evangelical telling you to change your religion or what you believe in. But and we also are going to ask questions and share ideas and thoughts, but we also don't claim to be experts. So I encourage everyone to always do additional research from a number of different sources, get different perspectives on in terms of what shapes your own beliefs, what you believe to be true. For us, we're here to highlight those who we believe to be doing the good work to make the world a better place, and to ask questions so that we can actually come together and figure out how do we better support each other, better come together in community and in love.
That's right. And everything we say, it's alleged, and we just try to ask questions, and we want to know so we can have a better sense of how to better communicate and answer to many horrible and things that was out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but please, anything that we say here, just check them out. Just do your own research, and because this is our point of view, and it doesn't have to be yours. And because I know even here, you guys are my guests, and my point of view and what I'm thinking is not particular and should never reflect exactly on you guys, because we don't discuss, we just have conversation. And that's what's really important, being able to have conversation, even with people that, you disagree. So, hey, so let's go. Let's get this service started. Thank you for that. Well, Sussex Squad Nation, Sussex Squad World, and to you all that was on the line right now, our co-hosts. Obviously, we are 2 days to Christmas, right? 2 or 3 days? This is a holiday season. And so I was thinking, what should we be talking about? What type of words that will make sense that we should look into? And I was just going back and forth, and then I had this clear image that comes into my head just like that. And those 2 words that we're going to be looking into, I think is appropriate for this time. How do we need to interpret them? Because very often that, we hear it all the time and is a part of our lives. But very often, I don't think we take time to truly, fully understand the meaning of those 2 words. And those words are compassion and empathy. So let's start with the first word, empathy. Yeah, that's what I said. Did it come out with something else?
No, you said compassion first. So I
No.
wanted to start with empathy first.
Oh, empathy. Oh, you wanted me to start with empathy
Yes.
first. Well, empathy and compassion. So let's reverse it. Okay, so what is that meaning of that empathy? This is a word that we hear very often. I would love to have a sense of what does that word is stand for. What is the meaning of this word?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because they're actually very close cousins between empathy and compassion. And then there's another one actually I'm going to get into a little bit, but not as much actually, which is sympathy.
Right.
So empathy, sympathy, as well as compassion. So they're all very, very close, but they also have very important distinctions. So empathy was first used in the early 1900s. It has a Greek origin, which is empatheia, and is literally means passion, emotional, and pathos, which basically also means emotion. So the first definition is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and the most importantly, vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. That is empathy. The second definition is the act of imagining one's ideas, feelings, or attitudes as fully as inhabiting something observed, or the imaginative projection of a subjective state into an object so that the object appears to be infused with it. So truly experiencing someone's feelings.
Right.
So now the interesting thing is between sympathy and empathy. We'll get into compassion later, but I think it's important to have those two distinctions. Sympathy and empathy both refer to a caring response to the emotional state of another person.
Right.
Right? But the distinction between them is typically made while sympathy is simply feeling of sincere concern for someone who is experiencing something difficult or painful. Empathy involves actively sharing in that emotional experience of that other person. So those are the two different things. And I also think that actually helps highlight truly what each one of them means when you compare them.
And by just saying that, the first thing that come to my mind, it's the role the Sussex squads play during the missing of Princess Wells, because you can see the concern that all of us had, spite of how we may feel about her, spite of what we feel like she could have done, should have done, and to help the situation, and the fact that she did not step out and speak, or just say no, not in my name, or could have done better, and everything we have come to know about her, and things they had say that she has done, things that she wrote, and we have all this evidence, and yet we find ourselves have empathy to a level where we literally demanding to see proof of life. There was a caring that at that moment where it's almost what felt like we put everything aside, that we begin to concern, and whether it had to do with the pictures they have to put out, to them saying to us that she enjoy swimming at night, and the way they were coming out, and we was not taking anything no for an answer. And I feel like, in my opinion, we pushed these folks so much so that they had to prove to us. Then of course we get back into business as always, but at that moment I have never been so proud that we were able to push everything aside, and whatever our disagreements, or whatever we may have felt, but we truly looked at her as a human being and was able to stand up and said, you need to prove to us. You're not going to get away by showing us some pictures, some videos, some this, some that, something, until she come in, we can see her in the form that we are accustomed to, we're not going to stop. Even though when they was calling us crazy, they was calling us all sort type of name, like we push them to show us proof of life. And then, of course, now she's back, and then we're back into business as usual, and as it should, because the distinguish between how they treat her and how they treat Megan is so very different, and it forces us to actually, speak about her or constantly bringing her name. But it is incredible how we was able to empathize and having some type of understanding that, yes, we disagree with this woman. Yes, we don't like how she had treats, our Fabe. Yes, but does she deserve for something horrible happen to her and we don't know what it is? That it's almost like we wasn't ready to have a Diana situation in our hand. Like, I just felt, I don't know, maybe just me interpreted it like this, or maybe I'm alone in this. But that was the message that I got, that, we were going to be able to just make sure people explain to us, how could that be? The future queen can disappear for 6-7 months. You guys are talking and bashing every single day, everything that Harry and Meghan is doing, and you're not telling us what happened to this woman. And the stuff that you guys are putting out there, it's very problematic and we're not getting it. It's not making any sense. And we no, we need to see proof of life. And boy, we did. And now we could go back into doing what we do and pushing, a lot of those, whatever it is that they try to push out there. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. So, I think it's interesting because from there, I could actually see two sides of that. I could see both sympathy as well as empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Because from a sympathetic point of view, the fact that I think that just the humanity that the squad just exhibits on a regular basis.
Yes.
I think we could simply sympathize with the fact that, there's a person who's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And you certainly don't want that to happen to anybody.
That's
all
right.
Of a sudden, you just care that, okay, well, this person is gone and she shouldn't be. Like, frankly, she shouldn't be.
That's right.
And then as well as being empathetic with the fact that, okay, well, look, this is still someone's mother. Right.
Someone's child, and she have children.
And she has children, right?
That's
exactly. Right. So, and I think just especially, and I think Connie actually mentioned it as well, like from that trauma lens that we actually take, because we also connect this back to Diana and actually when she disappeared, and well, not disappeared, when she was frankly murdered.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, that's true. That's true. I retract.
Take that back.
Yeah, I retract that. It's not true. It's not true. It was the accident that happened.
She had an accident. There was an accident. She was being pursued.
That's true.
She was not.
That's true. I misspoke. It's true.
No. Yes. Thank you.
I misspoke. Yes, but yeah, of what had happened. So that being the case, and basically having the trauma of having to live through that. So should I go on to compassion?
Yes.
Okay. Compassion. So compassion actually is very short and sweet. There's only literally one definition. It was probably the shortest definition I've seen since I've been doing this. Sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, together with a desire to alleviate it.
Say it again.
Sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, together with a desire to alleviate it. So not only are you conscious of basically what has happened to this person, but you also have a desire to stop it.
Right.
Or to somehow alleviate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also just a little bit of, I think, again, the comparison between compassion and empathy is also important. So both refer to a caring response to someone else's distress.
Mm-hmm.
While empathy refers to the active sharing of that emotional experience of the other person, compassion actually adds to that emotional experience the desire to actually alleviate that person's distress.
And you can see that with when we were all of us was looking at Megan in the wall stage, what feels like this woman is suffering. No one is standing up. No one. She was under attack left and right, left and right, left and right. And you have people like Tina Michelle, Spatial K Tots, and God, what's his name again? Dowell Dan. Well, I'm pushing this name to Royal Sussex, and these people started popping up, and pretty much in some ways
You talk
was needed. Terrell, yes. What you see by the end of it all, and I think Harry says that in his speech, his last speech that he did at oh God, I think it was the World Child Awards, that it was so needed. It was so needed.
Yeah. And actually, on that note, thank you to Connie and Julie for the super sticker and for actually calling out that exact idea that she said that viewing the royal family from a trauma lens is why she loves the Sussex Squad.
That's right. That's right.
That's some of the work to be done. But I got to say, I'm like bursting at the seams over here. So I'm so excited about these two words that you chose.
Yes.
And I did not think, like I had having a sense of what they meant, did not anticipate at all what was going to find, like digging specifically into empathy. Like it's fascinating.
Right.
So I gotta ask permission first. Like, can I go in and like
absolutely,
I can
absolutely.
So, it's amazing because there's the way that the word's meaning has evolved over time, how it means different things to different groups of people. Like the whole thing, it is for anyone who's got some time over the holidays. Like that's actually a worthwhile way to spend it, is to just look into that word empathy specifically, because it really is fascinating. But in terms of a selection of some of them. The first one is a journal entry called "Some Reflections on Empathy in History." It's by John Cairns in the journal titled "Teaching History," and it was published in 1989. That's actually one of the things that's also super interesting about this work, is looking at how people talk about these words and their meaning and their role in society, as how that changes from things that were published in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s to more modern publications today.
Right.
But what he says, he starts off by saying it's got a psychological origin. That the term empathy, this is according to John Cairns, said the term empathy belongs primarily to psychological studies. It can be traced back to 1897, when Theodor Lipps, a German, used the word Einfühlung to mean a person losing his own self-awareness as he confronts a painting or other art object and is absorbed by the art attracting his attention. Edward B. Titchener of Cornell University in 1903 used the term empathy to translate Einfühlung for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super. Like the translation across languages also, in terms of how it got the word its initial meaning from a psychological perspective. The other thing that's interesting in that is that that's a very different understanding than what is used in more, say, for example, in literature around nursing and medical care, that you cannot lose yourself, even though you're trying to borrow the patient, in that case, his emotions to better understand how to care for them. But in this initial instance, it was actually because one lost their own self-awareness in that object
That's right.
of art. The other thing he adds that's interesting is he says there's 4 views of empathy from this perspective. He says P.J. Lee distinguishes 4 ways of viewing empathy: as a power, as achievement, as a process, and as a disposition or propensity. As a power, empathy is the ability to discern other people's thoughts and feelings. As achievement, it is close to historical empathy, since it consists in knowing what someone or some group believed, valued, felt, or tried to attain. Empathy as a process is discovering what someone believed by looking at the evidence. Lastly, as a disposition, it is the ability or willingness to take into account other points of view. These types of empathy may also be facets of the same concept. The historian, however, looks at empathy in different ways to the psychologist or the psychiatrist. So I'll stop there, even though there's much more interesting in that journal, and go on to the next one, because this next one is coming at it again from a totally different discipline. This is a journal called Empathy: An Aim and a Skill to be Developed. It's by Frederick Thompson in the journal called Teaching History, and it's actually going into the history really of teaching. And so what he writes, to just take an excerpt from it, he's referring to this project called the Time, Place, and Society Project. He said that he identifies empathy as a social skill to be developed in the course of a curriculum designed with an objective base. However, it goes further and indicates that empathy is a freestanding aim that is to be achieved by a curriculum design that embodies the intellectual skills of using resources, communicating information, and interpreting information supported by attitudes and values that foster discernment and curiosity. At a time when there is a need to include a multicultural dimension within the school curriculum, empathy must be encouraged, developed, and exercised through the media of subject disciplines such as history and geography, where the prime concerns are with people in their world today, yesterday, and in the future.
Amen. Amen to that. And that exactly what you just say here. What stand up for me is Harry. When you looked at the man for what he is, who he is, where he come from, that world that he come from, and yet here we are finding ourselves looked at him as a brother, as a neighbor, as someone that was a part of our family, someone that, you know, in so many ways, maybe people will say that was born with a diamond spoon in his mouth, not even a silver spoon, a diamond. To someone that, you know, maybe many of us should feel that we can relate to, but yet here we are in so many ways feel like we can relate to him. And you quickly understand, based on what this writer wrote, the work that he has done, how he understands his privilege and what he needed it to do, how he needed to view the world and see the world and connect with the world with that empathy, and that what he have, that whatever that is that God have given him, open himself to do the work that he's doing, where we can actually not just only taking him serious but believe him. And so what is so incredible in that piece that you just, you know, read is that it's how incredible and how, you know, we receive him because of what he's shown. And who would have never, you know, we would never know until he wrote this Spare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That how relatable he really actually is for what he's been through, because was not in our mind at all. I mean, when you think about, again, you know, the image that been portrayed, who these people are, or you know, the lifestyle, the last thing you will think that, you know what, or picture Harry sleeping in some basement somewhere with no window, maybe one window facing the parking lot.
Yeah.
Or that him walking in with holes in his shoes, or, you know, shopping, you know, and thrift shop. That's not how you define or think of a prince, you know. And to him losing his mother at such a young age, there were so many things about Harry, and, you know, that we find ourselves connecting to him, and through that empathy in both ways.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about you bringing up Spare is because that is the example of how he has been able to make like what he has done that has made him more relatable, that enables that type of empathy, both from him to others, but also others back to him. But the other thing that's interesting about this journal here is that this is from a perspective of how do we actually teach ourselves? How do we teach our kids?
That's right.
Saying that it is an aim and a skill to be developed. And what he did with Spare is actually show an example of how do you do that, of how do you use these intellectual skills of using resources, of communicating information and interpreting information, supported by the attitudes and values that foster discernment and curiosity to question things. Like that idea of how do you find the places where you can be, areas where you can have common ground or where you can relate, but also that idea of how you communicate information, how you receive information in a way that actually enables you to be curious and to want to learn more.
Enter Duchess, Meghan into this conversation. Exactly. And that's what makes them such a power couple, that make them a team.
They are, and I think that actually this is why I said like this word for me going into it was like massively fascinating to see how it is evolved over time, but also where it is today in terms of some of the discussion about rethinking even the way the human mind works. And so there's two more on that subject from the word empathy in particular to share, is that I think it gets actually right to the heart of what Harry and Meghan are leading on a global international stage, in addition to the work that they do on a micro level with their impact on individual people. But it's both of the spectrums that they're moving forward on, both sides, the micro and the macro. And the macro side, this journal is actually titled Affiliation, Empathy, and the Origins of the Theory of Mind. And that's very overly academic maybe in the title, but it's actually very quite interesting what they write. It's by Robert M. Seyfarth and Dorothy L. Cheney from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America. It was published in 2013. And so what they write is they say that we argue that a subconscious, reflexive appreciation of others' intentions, emotions, and perspectives is at the root of even the most complex forms of the theory of the mind, and that these abilities may have evolved because of natural selection, which has favored individuals that are motivated to empathize with others and to attend to their social interactions. These skills are adaptive because they are essential to forming strong, enduring social bonds, which in turn enhance reproductive success. So what they're actually going to is that empathy is actually something that is wired in from a biological perspective in terms of how we've been able to evolve and grow as a species over time. They talk about different studies that they conducted, even like studying. There's a lot of primatology work in terms of looking at how these sorts of emotions come to life in groups of animals. And they do find that in this, they cite a specific study. They say that females in that study who manifest high rates of affiliative behavior may also be more motivated to anticipate challenges, react adaptively to setbacks, and respond appropriately to social interactions. Like the whole thing, like being able to be empathetic and have that ability to understand where others are is just a thing for survival, something that actually matters to us biologically. But that's like starting at the roots from a biology perspective, but like a social structure perspective, this is actually the one I think I found the most interesting. It's titled Our Better Angels, Empathy, Sympathetic Reason, and Pragmatic Moral Process. It's by Corey Sorrell. It was published in the Pluralist in spring of 2014. And just to read the short bit of how it opens up. Corey writes that empathy is the ability to infer and share the feelings, intentions, and goals of other persons. It provides the basis for our extraordinary capacity to help others, including strangers we may never meet, without interest in personal benefit. Its extent has been controversial because recent studies in neuroscience, empirical psychology, and primatology support a highly empathetic understanding of human nature. This view overturns the so-called Darwinian, in quotes, paradigm prevalent both in popular imagination and academic disciplines. The Darwinian account, in quotes because distant from Darwin's own expressed views, holds that a man is wolf to man, that individuals are self-maximizing and manipulative even when seemingly kind to others, that they're working from a self-interested perspective, that sort of idea. And I'm skipping forward to paraphrase down to the bottom. It says, but recent studies support a different picture, a kinder one, in which persons are naturally attuned to one another. They cannot help feeling what others feel and spontaneously reach out to others in need. In the age of empathy, Franz de Waal calls for a complete overhaul of assumptions about human nature. The empathic paradigm is a radical new view, writes Jeremy Rifkin in The Empathic Civilization, with radical implications for the way we understand and organize our economic, social, and environmental relations in the centuries to come.
Powerful. And again, each of these pieces, you see Harry, you see Meghan, but enter the Sussex Squad after you read the space. That many of those folks that who almost what it feel in daily out here defending, standing up, speak out, trust in the basic of that empathy, what they feels for the Sussexes. Spite of that, you know what, this is people that, you know, you probably like, if that's probably in better situation than many of us. But yet what they both was going through and still going through, that we able to touch us in a way where we say no. Because what we all collectively understand fail to not stand up and defend this just because of the status of who they are, it mean what it means for us.
Yeah.
And again, it remind me,
It's just more human.
sort of one thing that, Aunt Tina used to say all the time is that when you looked at a woman such as Megan, it's not what you come in, like you it's almost like you don't think something like that can possibly happen to her. You don't think people can actually do that to her. But if they can, then what happened to the rest of us? You know what I'm saying? It's this idea. But I think it just go beyond that, sort of like looking at her, her eyes, looking at what was going on, especially that image that still almost, I feel like it's sometimes almost like a nightmare. When she had this interview the first time when she went to Africa, she was still a working royal. In that interview, you could feel the emotion from the screen. You could feel that whatever that is that she was feeling that moment, there was something about it that just, I don't know how to express it. It's almost scary.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And so to me, I completely understand what that rather.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, that last one in particular put in context of the importance of the work that Harry and Meghan are doing, because it has these reachings from how we teach ourselves, how we teach our kids to being more in touch with our own human nature. What is actually the human instinct to actually reach out and to empathize? Like, that is actually a return to who we really are. And also, it is, as that last writer said, it is a rethinking how we have actually organized ourselves socially and economically.
Absolutely.
It is to make it back in harmony with that.
Even into what you just say, again, I am looking at the picture that they put out this week of, the holiday card. And you see that little girl that hug, a Duchess. That feeling, to me, there is an emotion into this picture. There is a connection with this picture. Do you understand what I mean? It's like, and kids know, and you can see everywhere that they go how they have been received by these kids, because kids does not lie.
It's true.
They don't. They know.
For better or for
They
worse.
feel. They can feel the energy and the response
Up to a certain age.
to that energy.
Yeah, about to say, as long as they don't break anything, kids don't lie. They're they're honest to their emotions.
But
is what kids are.
absolutely. But it's like I'm looking at the triangle from Harry to Meghan and to the Sussex Wives, and what's created Sussex Wives, and I feel like this piece just suited it very, very well.
It does, I'll close. This is not nearly as much from a journal perspective to share on compassion, although it is very interesting. But before doing anything else, just wanted to say thank you very much, Simon Corlita, for the super sticker.
That's right.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So are you done with your piece? Because we going to.
I told you I was going in. I asked permission first.
Yes, you have more to that.
There's
That's
a
right.
very little bit left, so I'll just
No,
put
go ahead. Go ahead.
Because
Go ahead.
kind of the relationship, as Charles mentioned, between empathy and compassion.
That's right.
And this is it's worth reading again. This is actually called Compassion and Moral Guidance. It's by Steve Bain from the Society for Asian and Comparative Philosophy, published 2013. And it's interesting because it goes back to what Charles mentioned. What's also clear when you dig into these words is that there's not really good clarity on or specificity of what they mean, because it's actually a book that opens up saying compassion is a word we frequently use in everyday conversation, but is rarely used with anything close to philosophical precision.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, one could go so far as to say we have lost the meaning of the word. As we generally use it, compassion appears in similar contexts with words such as empathy, sympathy, and love, and may even be equated with one or more of these. Reget's Thesaurus lists compassion as having each of the following distinct connotations: sensitivity, philanthropy, pity, mercy, forgivingness, consideration, leniency, unselfishness, and kindness. It's all over the place. Other lexicons include concern and care as synonyms. In an everyday conversation, compassion is generally thought of as a recognition or awareness of the existence of suffering in some other being, coupled with a desire to alleviate that suffering, as Charles mentioned. It's not a philosophical definition, nor is it particularly instructive from an ethical point of view. And I think that was just an interesting point that author made, because you pair that with this final piece that I'll add, because I think it speaks to just the massive importance that we kind of maybe sometimes overlook it and lost in the minutia what's happening on a week-to-week basis, but really the massive importance of what Harry and Meghan are doing on the world stage. And this is the last one. It's titled The Varieties of Ethical Experience, a Phenomenology of Empathy, Sympathy, and Compassion. And to what Charles had mentioned, that the relationship of how closely related those are. This author writes, I'll try to pronounce the journal because I don't know if I can. It's Phänomenologische Forschungen. That's my best German for the journal. This is published by Peter J. Rosen. But he writes that the variety of ways, and this is responding, the subject being a person, he says the variety of ways the subject may respond to the suffering of another person. The structure of these, being empathy, sympathy, and compassion, are different, but similar in ways of being taken up as clues hinting at a sensibility bearing on the formation of an ethical life. This sensibility is essentially twofold in character. On the one hand, pairing of the perceived similarities between one person and the other opens that person up to a resonance of the humanity of the other person. On the other hand, the other person's expressive life awakens within that person, the subject, their interest in wanting to know the meaning of these expressions, for the other calls forth of caring regard for the well-being of the other. So this, what's struck me in all of that and looking into compassion is how it is what actually drives toward ethics and living an ethical life. With that author actually quoting himself at the beginning of his paper, quoting Schopenhauer, said, "The basis of ethics consists in one individual, again recognizing in another his own self, his own true inner nature." And that return to moral guidance, to how do we live an ethical life, that word compassion and its relationship to empathy is central to that, because it is that basis of ethics, that ability to recognize in oneself, to recognize in someone else your own human nature. And that is something that is just so at the core of what Harry and Meghan are doing on both the micro level and on the macro level, is that recognition of everyone's humanity and what it deserves.
I wish that you had to read this after Charles, because it will going to lead me into the story of the week. But before I said what I'm about to say and discuss, I think it is important to really look at where this word coming from, what it means, what it stands for. Compassion?
Yeah.
You did?
I did.
What?
You too caught up? That's why I went into it.
You did?
Because I know he did it already. So that's why I did both.
I did.
Well, say it again.
Thanks for keeping on.
Say it again.
It lost its impact.
Say it again.
It was going to be deep, but
It's good to be deep. Go ahead.
All right. So a little bit of both for what I have a little extra on top of this, just because it is kind of interesting how those two things, compassion and empathy, actually work together. But compassion specifically is the sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with a desire to alleviate it.
That's right. But when was this word first used?
This particular first word was first used was actually much earlier. I didn't actually pull that up. Let me get that.
You see? So I was right.
Partially.
No. You always just look for it. Always try to be right. Did it actually even say? It comes from the Middle English. It was actually first used in the 14th
Thank
century.
you.
So it doesn't mean you were right. We did read the word. You always try to prove something. So, but anyway, so compassion, and this is where I last left off. Compassion and empathy both refer to a caring response to someone else's distress, while empathy refers to an active sharing in that emotional experience of the other person. Compassion actually adds an additional element of an emotional experience with the desire to alleviate that person's distress.
Mm-hmm.
So, as they say, the distinction between compassion and empathy is actually
Go ahead.
a frequent topic of exploration.
It's the dogs. Go ahead. Go ahead.
By empathy, I mean meaning the feelings of other people. So if you're in pain and I feel your pain, I'm feeling empathy towards you. If you're being anxious and I pick up on your anxiety, and if you're sad and I pick up on your sadness, that's when I'm being empathetic. And that's the difference from compassion. What compassion means is I give your concern weight. I value it. I care about you. I don't necessarily pick up your feelings. If I feel compassion for you, I'll be invigorated. I'll be happy, and I'll be trying to make your life better. That's the difference.
And enter what the news behind everything about Harry and Meghan, just based on just a picture that they have released. The biggest news this week, it's the result from the case of Miss, not Miss, she's Mrs. Giselle Pellicot from France. That was really massive. And I'm not sure how much you guys have followed, if you know who she is, what the case was about. It's one of the biggest, the most, I think very disturbing for women overall and for society and for the world.
It's horrifying.
This idea that, you marry someone for the last, I don't know how many years.
50 years.
50, I don't know exactly how many years. To have a husband, have a life. I believe she has a daughter as well.
Actually, I'm going to just interrupt you for half a second, just because of the nature of this subject.
Yes.
People may know about it, that it is worth saying that there is a trigger.
That's the trigger warning. But the point that I'm going to make, I'm not going so much discuss about the case and everything about it, but I need to make a point. And so I need to actually use this to make the point. But, sort of, I'm still processing it and really it's hard to talk about, so to speak, but just to people have an understanding so they can see where I'm going with this. When we talk about compassion, empathy, and everything else. And so this woman who married her husband, and apparently her husband, would use medication to, what's the word specifically that, so she's not aware what is happening to her, so to speak. I think this is sleeping pill, they said other things, and had over 50 men sort of, do the hours to her, and she have absolutely no idea what's going on. And it wasn't until the police had sort of, I think he was filming somebody, and, and then they got in his phone and they realized all this imagery, and they went to his house and they find all this videotape. So it's been massive. Everyone's talking about, and when it was horrifying. But this woman is very quickly become an icon to the feminist movement, but to many women in the world, how she stood, firmly, strongly, show up to the court to see this judgment, to go through all the process that she has gone through. And for many of us women in general, if you ever have something not even close to what happened to this woman, but or have friends who have been victim to that violence, and as a matter of fact, abuse. And I think one of actually, a listener and supporter have situation where she was in abuse situation, and that strength it takes. And for her, especially with the French law, and there's no one that know whether or not she was going to be succeed, but it was important. She literally gave the right to make this public, and it was public, and it was horrifying to many people. It's almost unbelievable. How could that be even be possible? But the reason why I bought this is because somebody report on that news, and this is someone that we know very, very well. Let's look at how this person responded to that news and why that I had to bring it. It will make sense to you guys, but wait for a shocker because you guys would never thought. I don't think I ever mentioned this particular newswoman, if we should call her newswoman, or somebody from the royal world or part of the royal world. I don't know. But anyway, it's not somebody that I talk about because the way she constantly at, Meghan specifically, Harry and Meghan specifically, Meghan. So let's listening to her, how she reporting on that really shocking news this week to a point where I almost forget that was her reporting on that. Go ahead.
I want
Please.
to start this podcast a little differently to normal, Kamal, because the case of Giselle Pellico for women, for me, there's a reason why we've all taken it so personally. I don't think I have been this deeply affected by a story or by a legal trial probably ever, maybe the Bulgers, but this means something for women. And the verdict today, which we're going to discuss, is it going to change things for women? Not just in France, not just in the UK, but around the world?
And just, I hope you guys are listening to this. This is Miss Tammany, in which we have never seen her like that, speak with that kind of emotion, that kind of empathy, that kind of compassion towards a woman, because I am, at least for myself, I'm so accustomed of her going after Meghan and allegedly have lies and so many occasions about another fellow woman. And here she is, and right so, to feel that emotion, to have that empathy. And yet I often that left me to, as I said again, I didn't even realize it was her because I was there with her. I was there in that emotion that she was expressing. And yet, I right after and realized it was her. Then I'm like, where were you? How did you feel in that moment when Jeremy, what is his last name?
Clarkson.
Say what he said? That was vulgar. That was horrible about another fellow woman. Where were you? What did you say? How did that make you feel as a woman? Forget that, she's a black woman. But she is a woman. And many of those women had the nerve to sit there and pretending or acting as though that did not hurt and didn't hurt. And so I looked at her compassion, her empathy towards Miss Giselle Pellico, as she should have. And in wondering, where was that compassion? Yes, Meghan, it's not suffering what Miss Pellico and Giselle Pellico had suffered under her husband. But this woman, Duchess Meghan, have been suffering for things that we don't know what exactly she's done in the world stage for the last 8 years, and sometimes feels like the R word. Sometimes it feels like they diminish this woman to almost nothing, to a point where somebody can say that, are uncomfortable to say that they go to bed and sleeping and dreaming and can't wait for the day that, they can walk and parade on the street. That kind of mindset. And wonder why the compassion, the love, and the care and the empathy was not directing towards her. What was it? Because to me, every time that I hear and have been witnesses to what Megan been through and still going through, that only possible when you have the kind of rhetoric that they put out there. And it was that, for a minute, I thought these people, they don't have any compassion. They don't have any empathy. And this week, it reminding me, no, they do. They do have that empathy. They do have the compassion. But what makes Megan so different? And that is the question there. Why have they not yet? They're still at it. Until today, they're still at it. And we are going to go to our next clip very, very quickly. So let's go to the next clip, because again, each time that I think that, okay, it's going to die down. And I was watching Dre, and it was like, it's just listening. Just listen. Go ahead.
I want to start this podcast a little differently to normal, Kamal, because
That's the wrong one.
Did you even have it?
Mm-hmm. What's the service without some sort of technical issues, though?
Uh-huh.
You're gonna have to keep this going.
Okay.
It's
Well,
gonna be
the point
we'll
is
come back to
that sometimes the way I see the media, or at least some of them, at least not all of them, the royal waters, had a report on Harry and Meghan, and specifically Meghan, because I think there is a way that they always cautious how they speak about Harry. It feels like sometimes they're very cautious, on what they say, but they full on when it comes to, as if like she doesn't exist, which is why they very often you hear them talking about, Harry, please come back, but never mention Meghan or the kids. The fact that, they now talking about the fact that kids are not well, and they're still doing it. And sometimes you're wondering what kind of people that speak about somebody you never met, somebody that you don't know, that who hasn't done anything that, we could put our hands on and said, okay, she did this, except marry a prince.
I think the thing that you bring up is kind of a core aspect of what those three words actually mean. Like what needs to happen for empathy, sympathy, and compassion to occur. And that is, you need to identify with the person that's involved. You have to see yourself in them to be able to have empathy. You need to see yourself in them in order to have compassion, because that's what it is. It's you basically sharing that experience. And if you don't connect with them as an individual, if you don't recognize their humanity or individuality, then you can't share that experience. They are other. And so if they are other, then there's no way that connection can occur.
I have a hard time. I completely understand in the level of other things that, maybe where you grew up or whatever the case is or anything like. But the experience, what Megan had been through, just looked at it. Let's not even look at it as the white and black issues. Just as a woman, I dare any woman tell me that, there's nothing there that you can relate to. Especially the work that she's doing and speaking, elevating women all the time and speaking about issues that not just only affect her, but affect every woman and kids and girls, so to speak. So I don't really understand where you would not be able to find that common ground or anything, whatever the case is, to be able to tell the truth. Or how do you look at yourself, as a woman, and then speak about another woman that is advocating for you, and understanding that, for many women, it wasn't until very recently had a voice, so to speak.
No, my point is that in order to do that, you have to recognize her humanity. And her humanity.
That's right.
Her humanity
that's right.
before she's a woman.
But to
and
me,
that's a different
that's
thing.
right.
You can't
right.
recognize her as a woman if you don't recognize her humanity first.
That's probably more in line to what I'm trying to figure out, what is the reason behind it. Because it just never makes sense to me. I've never really quite get it. Because again, here I am, I was flipping because it was so fascinating about this, what Miss Pellico,
more than
what Mrs. Pellico, Giselle, going through, and when the news come in, I couldn't stop. I was going to flipping very different. I was in social media, just trying to figure out what's the result, what is going on, and what everyone is saying, and I stumbled to Tommy, not even realizing it actually was her, and the emotion that was coming out of her, I was right there with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like I literally forgot that was her, because I am so not accustomed of her speaking like that, articulating her words like that, or almost like sometimes what feels like she's emotionless. She's just, especially when she's talking about, it's almost like, I'm out to get her, so to speak. That's a feeling that I've always get. There's something about Megan that I don't like, and so therefore I'm going, like, she's going, like, there's something to her, and every time I see her or talking, I wouldn't listen. I just move right along. And here I am, find myself connecting with her in that emotion that she was portraying and speaking about women. And then right after realizing it's her, and then all of a sudden becoming very confused, hurts. How could you, that emotion existed in you, and I have not yet ever seen you portray that? Whether you like Megan or not, whether you agree with it, whatever you may have, but there is things that have been said about this woman that I feel, even as a woman, as a side, that should not be allowed. If you're able to have that kind of compassion, to have that kind of empathy.
Yeah. And actually, our co-host, Connie and Julie, has added a number of really important ideas. The idea of one of selective empathy, as you've been talking about, but also this last bit of saying, Connie and Julie saying that Camilla doesn't have empathy for Megan because she gets paid not to. And so there's also the question of the role, which is a very important topic for discussion across the world right now, is that role and responsibility of figures in the media who have that platform, who have the megaphone in terms of their the commitment to that integrity, and this idea of what we've been talking about. What does it actually mean to live an ethical life, to have moral guidance, and to have compassion and empathy at the center of that? When you do work in a corporate job and you do have compensation for achieving certain things that have been put in front of you. So that's it's an important element to that. But I would say when you're ready.
I am ready because again, to finish with the point, again, to go ahead, play.
That's more than ever is the day to really put your foot forward to try to not only protect these two, but also to amplify the voices that defend them. Because it's about to get really bad. Come next year, I'm not just talking about these two. I'm just talking about in media in general, it's about to be a very scary, weird time for the other voices and how keeping those voices suppressed and amplifying the other side. But when I saw stuff like this, look at their subscribers account, and this is on YouTube. They're almost at 400K. This is the Daily Mail Royals from the Daily Mail. I'm not even going to show, because I've said it before, I'm not talking about that sad little man, but even his channels. The numbers is crazy. And you may say, Dre, we need to ignore them. We need to ignore them. We need to ignore them. Don't give them the life. Don't give them life. And I say to that, I don't agree with that. You haven't been keeping up the way this recent election went, the way stuff is pivoting, it seems like, with certain media, mainly in the mainstream media and independent media. The voices from our side is seeming like they're either switching sides or they're becoming, they're pushed down. And I saw that number on the Daily Mail Royals. That scared me. Why? Because they have a bigger reach to spread their BS. Like this.
There was a sense that maybe her relationship with The Cut had soured. And then this week we discovered it definitely has soured because The Cut said, why do all of Meghan and Harry's projects keep flopping? And the reason why it was surprising was because The Cut was her chosen magazine that she decided to do this big reveal in 2 years ago. And so for a magazine to change their, to change their opinion of her so quickly is kind of surprising.
So, ma'am, you pretty much told on yourself because even though Meghan worked with that magazine, by allowing their journalists for that same publication to be objective and criticize a person who they support, that's how you have healthy journalism and healthy media. Unlike you guys, where you have access to the royal family, obviously. Pretty much admit it, you have access to them, and that means you're supposed to kiss their ass. Thank you for that.
Richard, your colleague Amanda Patel points out that as they're having that sort of faltering a bit in these projects, that Catherine was nominated for Time Magazine's Person of the Year.
Meghan would have been really jealous. Do you think? Yeah, she'd love to be nominated for Time Woman of the Year.
Well, ma'am, if you're an actual journalist and not a fangirl for the royal family, you would know that Meghan Markle was on the short list for the Time Person of the Year back in 2018, and she's also done a few covers for Time magazine. So I don't think she's jealous. She's been there, done that, and probably will do it again in the future. But it's stuff like that. What some may call semantics, I call it's the little things that grow into big things. But it's those little things that are as amplified on these big platforms, independent media and mainstream media. I can't control mainstream media, but I can definitely have a say in independent media because I'm part of it.
And here we are. It was scary to have someone to sit there and talking about the project that they don't have a flapping. What project that is flapping?
Project?
Yeah, it's ridiculous that someone can literally look at a camera, being a part of a conversation, and not bring receipt. Bring a receipt to me of any project the Sussex is. Put their name on. That has not been successful. And we're talking about, they just put just a simple cut out that went all over in the world. So truly, where is coming from that, you guys feel like you have to tear anything this woman does? Talking about flap. Seriously? And this is where sort of it put us, the squads and other people that was paying attention, into a place where we start talking about the other warriors maybe we probably would not care to talk about. and you looked at the work Harry and Meghan's doing to the work his brother is doing in other world, and you're like, show me the comparison here. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how could you guys have always what feel like you have compassion and empathy for those other ones that I don't know why they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know why I have not seen anything that I could describe as success yet. Not to say maybe it's happening, but they're certainly not talking about it. And then you guys going to turn everything Harry and Meghan and then say, and we remember, they didn't say Harry. They talked exactly about Meghan. Please show me one thing this woman have done since she was 9 years old, was able to turn a commercials. Show me the receipt on that. How could that even be allowed? Do you understand what I'm saying? And then to go, she would be very jealous that she's on the. How do you know she will be jealous? Are you her friends? Have she ever have a conversation with you? What would make you think or even be able to say something like that? To speak about what someone will be jealous. And you see what they try to do, again, is to pin Harry, Meghan, to the Princess of Wales, the Duchess and the Princess of Wales, as though that, she's jealous and envy of Kate. What world are we living in?
It's true.
And remember what Dre said. And the people that was following these people, how they themselves going to interpret it. What is being said somehow that, and Meghan is jealous of, Kate.
Yeah, and I think also the point that you made in connecting those two clips between what you saw, this sort of selective empathy from Tammany, to what Dre himself is saying, that people need to pay attention as we go into next year, as we go forward generally, the role of media broadly, but also the different roles and places between mainstream media, the tabloids, as well as independent media and creators on different social channels. Like there is there's a lot of important things to keep in mind in terms of how those roles are evolving, and to tie it back to the words that you chose for today of that, the importance of ethics and a moral path forward based in compassion and in empathy, and how that actually comes to life through independent media and creators.
And so for me, listening and hearing, Miss Tammany speaking with that emotion, it's a quick reminder for me what we need in this moment. It's that emotion for what we are going through. God knows what we probably going to be going in, what's happening all around the world. You need that empathy. You need people with that kind of feeling to guide us, because they play a huge part in our world. And so the question for me is that are you guys separating people that you see as a human, and so you can have empathy and sympathy for them, and there's another group of people you guys don't see as human, and so therefore, and even that aspect, not looking as a human, I have a pushback, because let's just say you think of certain part of the population as animal, as they often seem to be, because the first thing that someone put in, when Harry and Meghan had their first child, is to have a monkey coming out of the hospital. Let's even just say you looked at even animal have people. I've seen people have compassion. I've seen people have, animal have so much right. So much right. I was listening to a story this week. I don't know what I was watching, where this woman lost her home, and she becoming homeless, and they sort of, coming in and to throw her out of her house. But she had two dogs. And the people, the police, whoever that coming in to throw her out of her home, what they did was they came in, and the dogs, they had a place to go. They had a shelter to go. But they did not. And no one cared where they had to go. And she said to herself, here are my dogs. They have a home and they have a place to go, and I don't. And they were cared for enough. And us, we not even been looking at as an, because you see the right animals have, and as they should, because we love our pets. So it's not even that we can say they treat us as animal, because animals seems to have a lot more right, a lot more sort of, compassion. It makes me think, in what level should we categorize, certain part of the population? How do people even see Megan to a point where there is, you can't have compassion or empathy or sympathy towards her, to a woman that if they had one excuse for why, I said, okay, whatever. But in terms of her public persona, what she has been doing, on the world stage, I have not yet seen one thing that, I could put my hand on that feel like fairness of to criticize.
No, because I think you're trying to look at it as
And
like
it's not
some
just
sort of,
me being biased.
Yeah.
I certainly am, but I don't see it, not when you're comparing the people that they are raving about.
Yeah, it's because you're trying to look at it with some sort of rational, fair lens, which it simply doesn't exist. It's not rational and it's not fair. So it's, it's the same people who basically made fun of Megan because she wore that red dress. It made no sense.
It
literally made no sense. Like remember that one reporter, I don't even know what her name was, like literally got indignant about that dress.
That's
like
right,
she just couldn't believe it.
Said
oh my
that
goodness, it was I'll never like watch her again or something, because of like, really?
Yeah,
it made no sense. There's literally made no sense. So you can't look for it. I mean, if they're not even willing to be honest intellectually, if they can't even get intellectually that this is actually something that just simply doesn't make sense, you can't expect them to actually have any kind of humanity for that person.
And this is
So
why I wanted to do those words, because I feel like as we moving to 2025 and to look at everything that is happening around the world, we need the media and the form to be able to have that compassion, to have that empathy, to see themselves. We are all one. And it doesn't really matter what the work that they doing and somebody else is doing. We all need each other on one way or the other. And what happened to me can happen to you. And so I want to have that hope. I want to have that it will happen. And so for me is that, looking at that harmony, to have that emotion, is she going to be able to look at herself? Because sometimes maybe it takes moment like that to go and look at yourself and say, wow, I can no longer be that person, regardless, no amount of money it's worth of me being the person that I felt like she has been to a Duchess. Maybe sometime there is moment in our life that make us look at ourselves, and I hope that emotion that she shows, that moment for Miss Giselle, and that compassion resonate in her, next to her in a way that next time she have anything to say about our daughters.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Well, I hope, because there is something, and I think if she doesn't, she should be called out on that.
I agree with that.
Because what the emotion that she was showing was real. What she was feeling was real to me, or at least feel real enough that I was connected to a point that, you know what, it didn't matter who was saying it. I didn't even realize it was her until she finished. And we're going to need those emotions. We're going to need to feel that, you know what, someone is standing up for all of us. Not just for a few, not just for one, for all of us. So, unless you guys have more to say.
There's only one final thought, and it's from a journal that was actually still need to process and digest and even make sense of it, because it is very up there in terms of the ideas. But I think it's important, even in the concept of what this author was driving at. It's Roy Sorensen from New York University. The journal title is called Self-Strengthening Empathy. I think that just goes to, and what he's talking about in a number of different ways, is just how the act of empathy over generations, over time, ends up creating people that are more able to come together in unity. And there's a whole bunch of different effects of what that actually means. The successful practice of being empathetic enables it to become more easy and more widespread in terms of being empathetic, in terms of how we actually care for each other. And so I think that, just as a final point to what you've said, why it is so important, not just for what the media is doing and how they talk and how they demonstrate that empathy and live that, but also for people like Harry and Meghan, in terms of being that role model from everything that they do, from their charity work to Spare to and micro interactions to the global stage. That example of empathy is something that can actually help turn that flywheel for it to be something that is easier for us all to be more empathetic.
And again, this is why what Dre did and Royal Sussex and all of them, it's a reminder that how important the work that we are doing and what we're doing, and that we really need to support those two, because there's so many people that is depending on that work. And it's going to get tough. It's not coming from me, because I have no way to know that it is going to be tough, but this is what's been reported all around, that what we should expect going into 2025. Things going to be tough for all of us. And so we're going to need leaders like Harry and Meghan to be able for people to support them so they can be doing the work of the God, Lord. We're going to need to uphold so many things, but we're going to have to connect with each other in a level like never before. And the media going to need to understand that, because the call is being put out where we can no longer sitting and having conversation talking about somebody's being jealous about something that they have done, been there, done that before, that you have never speak to that person, that person friend, to talk about that they must be jealous, or they are jealous. They would love to be on the cover. Meghan, if this woman was telling the truth, who pretty much have sold the cover, the Vogue, when she didn't even want to put in, she did not put herself in that cover. She had an opportunity, she could have, and it would have sold out too. who decided it was more important for her to highlight everybody else than just put her face up there when she could have.
I think that's the point, though. I think that's not her agenda. That's not what she's
This
after.
is not who she is.
So, I mean, I don't think it even matters. Like, I mean, it's not what her work is about.
Never, and has never
So-
since she was a little girl.
So again, I mean, spending so much time on someone else's beef when it has nothing to do with what she's trying to do. Like, don't project what you believe your values are onto her.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with her. If she wanted a magazine cover, she's had plenty.
Let me tell you something.
So that's what it is.
That is, let me say this. Let me say this. As someone who have moved around the world of fashion, so to speak, and who understand that kind of what the meaning of that kind of God, I'm trying to find my words here. There is no designer that currently who will not do anything to have Megan either wearing their clothes, or there's no magazine that will not want to feature her in a cover if all she will have to say, I want to do it. This is a woman that literally gave a big part of who she was as a star to do the work that she's doing and understanding the sacrifice that's going to come to that. And it's not going to be about her, and she doesn't want it to be about her. And this is not the work that she is doing. It's not like she does it because of Harry. This is kind of work that she was doing before Harry come around in the picture. This is a woman that, who, just realizing how much food was going to waste on a set, decided to take this, said, no, let's not waste that. Let's bring it into the shelter. Because her mother used to do that with her. This is a woman that was in Africa advocating for young girls, for water, for their menstrual. She's true to this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, she could have, make it out. She's a beautiful girl. Absolutely stunning. The world is at her feet, so to speak, when it comes to her beauty. This is a woman that does not need contouring just to show off in a red carpet and completely destroyed it, so to speak, as if like there was no one there. What are we talking about, people? This is a woman that is continue glowing, smart, beyond belief, that it's almost like every time you think that there is something that she's not, you find out that she is. A great writer. She's an amazing thinker. She's beautiful. Simple, but elegant and classic and sophisticated. Like she's so many things. She's not one dimension. And yet you find yourself attached to her in a way that where you empathize, you connected, you passionate, and you want to see her successful. Because you know the work that she is actually really doing, who's benefiting from it, and how we all connected to that work. So it is ridiculous that we have someone talking about, oh, she's jealous. It's absolutely absurd. And then you're like, what world are we living in? What world are we living in? And so I think this is what we need to start thinking as we're going through the holidays and prepare ourselves for 2025. That whether it's those people to all of us to understand, internalize those words. These words that will have so much incredible meaning that we need in this moment. Compassion, empathy, and sympathy. So, Charles, let's go on to verse or prayer.
Not a verse, a prayer.
It's prayer.
Actually.
Mm-hmm.
We've used this before, and I
please,
think it's
yes.
a good time to actually break it out again, just given the
Take your
place
time,
where
say
we
it.
are.
Please.
You literally just let me do my thing. So
No.
so this is what we've said before. It's called the Serenity Prayer. And it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept things that I cannot change, the courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And just a little bit of background on this particular prayer is actually attributed to Reinhold Niebuhr, which is an American Lutheran theologian who lived from 1892 to 1971. And however, the origins of the prayer are unclear. It's attributed to this man, but they're unclear because it's also been attributed as an ancient Sanskrit text. It's been attributed to Aristotle. It's been attributed to St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, yes.
And as well as to St. Francis of Assisi.
Amen.
So the point being, it has had resonance for quite some
St.
time.
Francis, that was my school. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So again, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Josh.
It is the end of the year. We are in the holidays. And so with that, we pray a prayer of thanksgiving for this past year, for the future, for our family. Many of us we get to spend time with over these next days and weeks. We pray for the Sussexes, of gratitude for what they have accomplished and of protection for their safety as they continue to do that work. We pray that everyone has safe travels to wherever they're going to spend the holidays, to spend the new year. For those who are at this time also confronting, whether it is health challenges or environmental challenges or whatever they may be, that you be with them, especially in this season, and that we all are able to more effectively remember our human nature is to reach out, to empathize, to sympathize, to show compassion. That is just in our very nature, and we can return to it and be the better for it. And as a final addition within that, as we think about next year, as we think about going forward, as we think about even just dealing with the pace of change, revisit some words that were shared by Amanda Gorman.
I'll lead you to that.
You want to go to that later?
I will lead you to that because that's where I'm
Okay.
thinking. My prayer, I know the squads have shown so much empathy and sympathy and compassion to this work. And that's what lead us, all of us, to be able to do what we do, defending Harry and Meghan. And extend ourselves to places when needed, spite of a disagreement with many members of the royal family. And that compassion, that love, that empathy come from somewhere. It's truly who we are. And it is my hope that as we go in towards the New Year's, and we have absolutely no idea what is around the corner for us, but what we do know and what we've been told is to prepare. And so that we will remember the compassion, the love that we have, and how important we're going to need to have that, to be able to share that, to be able to stand up, to be a light, and not going into a place of hatred, because sometimes you are so fatigued, you are so tired, you so you almost like you can feel and see, if you don't careful, you find yourself in a place of hate. It's almost so easy to hate than love. And I have not yet seen that being a part of this community, even when we have hatred come towards our way. And so I hope we are able to, for those of us that will have family, those of us that will have husband, wife, and cousin, nephews, and auntie, mothers, daughters, sons. And this holiday, it is my hope, it is my wish that, we bring them a little bit closer. Remind them how important, and this moment, as hard they said it's going to be, we're going to have to move with compassion, with love, with care, with understanding, even when it's uncomfortable to do that. And I will extend my prayer to the royal family, that I know whatever it is that they have done wrong, continue doing done wrong, cannot be easy to be in that space. I remember what Harry has said when he says, I have compassion. He used the word compassion for his family, knowing that, they are stuck, or they feel stuck, so to speak. I want us to understand, to have the compassion, to have that empathy, that sympathy, is to have God present. This is a light. We need to believe it. We need to feel it. We will overcome. We shall overcome. And to the great word of Amanda Gormand, and before we go to that incredible poem 4 years ago, I recall and remember President Obama, his last address to Congress. He reminding us to have compassion, to have understanding to people who don't look like us, to people that who are different than us, to people that who have done us wrong in some ways, because to their own view or point of view is the world that is changing, and they don't know how to deal with it, accepting it. Well, we are fighting and disagreeing, but But we need to bring our compassion. We need to bring our love, because that is the only thing that's going to penetrate what the devil means for bad. God always find a way to turn things around, and things will turn around. We shall overcome. We will overcome. As I leave you today, I hope you guys remember that. And I will leave you with the words of Amanda Gorman and the last, which will be President Biden, which we all now, or I, thank him for his services. Thank Kamala Harris for her service, for pushing the ball one step closer. And yes, we will overcome. We shall overcome. Love win. Love win always. As we move to this holiday season, to the new year, may God bless you. May you have an incredible Christmas and a blessing one. Please listen to these incredible words that's going to be read by George, because we need those words to go into the New Year's. Go ahead.
It is that closing stanza from The Hill We Climb. When day comes and we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid, the new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it.
Say it again, please.
When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If God willing, we'll see each other next Sunday, but we will see each other a little bit sooner than that, hopefully tomorrow, and you guys' channel to debut your Christmas special.
Yeah.
I hope all of you join us. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Please subscribe, like, and share. We're
Happy
always
holidays.
terrible
That
at that.
Happy holiday,
And
everybody.
happy holidays to everybody.
Good day. Goodbye. God bless you all.